9:30, everyone.
Yep.
So we'll declare the meeting open. Welcome you all to this via Zoom. Just a reminder to all the councillors and staff that this meeting is taking place by Zoom, as you know, and as public cannot be physically present, it will be recorded and the recording put on the website for public to listen to. So just making you aware of that. Call for apologies. There doesn't appear to be any. I think we've got a full muster. Have we got one, Carolyn? I'm seeing 9 faces.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. And as per usual, just call for any declarations of conflict of interest from today's agenda. It's pretty short and sweet and topical, sticking to the main points today. So is there anything? Doesn't appear to be anything. No. We did have some members of the public indicating for public forum, but due to the complications of Zoom, I assume they've decided to hold off for 6 weeks and they'll come back then. So
yep, that's correct.
Okay, so that's all taken care of, isn't it, Caroline?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Page 5 on the agenda, the Group Manager Finance and Technology Services report. Kumaran, are you there today?
Good morning, Chair Don and members of the committee. So the financial update report that I normally give every month, unable to do that specifically for Treasury and financial performance for the 12 months ended June. That's mainly because, as typical for this time of the year, the finance team are heavily committed in preparation for the 30 June annual report, which is fairly close to completion and will be handed over through to Audits New Zealand today, who are commencing their final audits virtually as of this week for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So the elected members will have an opportunity to review the draft annual report at the Audit and Risk Committee workshop on the 9th of September, where you'll get a complete view of the draft position on Council's year-end situation from a financial and non-financial perspective. The reason why I say draft is because that will still be subject through the audit process and wouldn't have necessarily encompassed all of the audit changes, but it'll still nevertheless give you an opportunity to look at what Council's year-end financial position is before you have to adopt that as Council in September. Having said that, with the permission of the Chair, I'd like to hand over to David, who can just give you a bit of an overview of the current financial position, having gone into lockdown, just to give the committee members a feel for where Council's sitting at financially at this point in time.
Good morning, Chair Don. Good morning, elected members. So just to give Council a sense of comfort around our liquidity levels going into lockdown, that we do hold sufficient cash to run Council's activities and for the foreseeable future. We also have the committed facility with ANZ Bank, which remains untapped. So in terms of liquidity, we remain in a very strong position. There's no concerns there. Perhaps a brief update that Council did meet with Standard & Poor's last week for our annual review, who were very complimentary in terms of Council's financial position and particularly complimentary in terms of our liquidity position, especially in relation to where some of the other councils are sitting. So we remain in a very strong financial position, and management don't see any financial problems riding out the remainder of the COVID lockdown. But I'm happy to take any questions if anyone's got specific questions.
Looking for any hands electronically or on the screen. Any questions? Margaret's got one.
Can you please tell me if you're sensing any real pain within the community as far as finances are concerned, David?
The way that Council responded, we put some procedures in place last year in lockdown that we have continued. So we In terms of paying our creditors, we remain paying our creditors on a weekly basis to try and get that cash circulating into the people who need it as quickly as we can. We remain open to any discussions from suppliers or creditors who may be experiencing difficulties, and we encourage them to talk to council if they are experiencing problems. And we're committed to being a good partner in that regard.
Any further? Oh, John.
I just wanted to add to David's answer there in terms of community. We've had a really good catch up over the last few days with a number of staff that work really, really close with community organisations, including tangata whenua community organisations that you're all aware of. Things are going really well in community. I'd suggest that processes that we're seeing are much stronger this time than they were in previous lockdowns. I think MSD in particular have got their act together compared to last lockdown. So conduit for community groups and individuals into getting support they needed is a lot better. And I'd suggest also that resilience is higher.
Thanks, John. Any further hands? Doesn't appear to be any. Right. So tomorrow, and after that audit work and that's completed, the start working, getting back to updating all those internal loan balances and other procedures?
Yes, so we'll provide the committee, the Audit and Risk Committee at the workshop, an overview of reserve balances and where current things are at, because we'll have a much more final position at that point in time. And that will be pretty much what will be underpinning the annual report that's going to council next month. Just to add to David's comment around the S&P conversations we've had recently, those were preliminary conversations, but it gives you an indication of currently where the rating agency sees council from a financial perspective. The rating agency has advised that they will provide a final report on the outcomes of their review later in September, and we'll release that through to elected members once that's available. So just a heads up there in regards to how that process is going to work. In relation to the rest of my report, which is a technology update, there's 4 key projects covered off there, which I'll take as read. And we're happy to take any questions in regards to those items, if there are any.
Right, we've got one from Mayor Webber, followed by Murray Granger. I'll mute off and let you two do your questions.
Don, I was just going to say, when you're finished with questions, I'm more than happy to move. End of message, thanks.
Right. Councillor Granger.
Yeah, just a question on the technology and wondering where we're at with remote sensing on some of those Three Waters things and other items out in the community in terms of the Internet of Things and that sort of technology that's available out there now. Are we well into that? And I suppose it comes a little bit into audit risk. Are we covering risks of that if we are?
Through the chair, perhaps Gary could comment on that from a service perspective.
So, Murray, that was about the risk to our plants, or was it about the use of the Internet of Things?
Both. Are we into that technology, and how are we dealing with the risks?
So, for 2 parts, but one, Coralie can talk about the use of the IoT. So we look at that for if we can incorporate it. Some of it's probably a bit early in its life cycle yet. And EJ's team look at the security along with the IT team about the security of our SCADA system in terms of our operation of our plants. So perhaps EJ can talk to that, but maybe if I get Coralie to talk about where we are in the space of the IoT with our wastewater systems, water and wastewater.
Yeah, Good morning, everybody. So in terms of IoT, so we've been looking into the technology. We do quite a lot in terms of remote sensing of our infrastructure. It helps quite a lot with asset management planning and stuff. So we do a lot, particularly in wastewater, monitoring flows and stuff. We've got a number of sensors in Te Puke at the moment. It helps us identify where we're getting stormwater into the wastewater network. We've been running a trial in the stormwater space with Internet of Things for a couple of years now, where we've put a whole bunch of remote sensors in Waihi Beach and having a look at how we can better monitor the stormwater network and then get sort of advanced warning of blockages in the systems, or we've got cameras and stuff set up so that we can monitor if when there's flooding occurs, how high does the flooding go, so we can better plan and manage our infrastructure going forward. As Gary said, it is still quite early, so we are still just kind of testing and getting a feel for what the infrastructure could do for us. But it's getting better, it's getting cheaper, and it's getting smarter as we sort of time goes on.
Thanks, Kylie. Murray, that answered your questions?
Yes, but so perhaps the risks of it are better addressed at the Audit Risk Committee than now. But.
Yeah, so perhaps I'll introduce EJ. So EJ's the new Kelvin's replacement. So if you haven't met EJ before, EJ comes to us from a Hauraki district and has come over into the role of the utilities manager. So EJ, you've got some comments on, I guess, security of our system?
Yes, so what we've done is we've separated our SCADA system from the rest of council's IT system. So for those of you that doesn't work with SCADA systems, it's a system that we use that runs all our treatment plants and pump stations. So we've got that layer of separation between the two systems. And then we run extensive security systems on our SCADA system to make sure that there's no risks. It's obviously something that's an ongoing process to update security, but it's definitely something that's quite high on our agenda and something we keep an eye on.
Thank you. I'm happy to second the Mayor's motion.
Thank you, EJ. Welcome to the team. With that, so I have it moved Mayor Webber, second Councillor Granger. All those in favour? Lots of hands have gone up electronically. Thank you very much. I declare that carried. Councillors, page 58 of the agenda, just the schedule of payments for the month of May and June. I'm looking for a couple of blue hands to come up, and that'll be the mover and seconder. So moved Monique Gray, second Councillor Denia, are the first two on the hit parade. Thank you. All those in favour? I assume it's carried straightforward. Thank you. Right, councillors, page 59, establishment of a CCTV working party and delegation. Blaze, are you going to introduce this and talk to it? Is Blaze there, Gary? Yep. Welcome, Blaze.
Thank you. Morning, councillors. Really, this is the next step in the process of dealing with CCTV and the process that was approved through the long-term plan. What the proposed report asks for is for the creation of a panel that will have delegations to implement the council's CCTV policy. So we'd be looking for 3 councillors from each of the wards that would be interested in participating. There would be a member of the NZ Police and myself who would form the core group of the panel. Happy to take any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I might start off first. Look, I'm going to cut straight to the thrust. I'm going to throw out 3 names and you can have some discussion on these. I'm suggesting Councillor Sol, Councillor Murray-Benj and Councillor Gray be part of that group to work with staff and the police. Councillor Henry, you had a hand up, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I would agree with those 3. I just have a question. You've got the part where there is 2 additional cameras at what point in the proceedings with this subcommittee will that be looked at, and when will it be reported? So if a group don't get in and they're eligible to apply, is that part of the process for one of the two that are going to go across the districts that the community boards will be paying for themselves?
Maybe you're jumping down into detail before that group's had a chance to even form, but Blaze, do you have any comment on that?
Just that the plan would be for anybody that wasn't successful to be notified, and then they would have an opportunity to reapply through their community board. The community boards would have the right to make a decision on CCTV if they funded both the capital cost and the operational cost of that.
So they couldn't make that application at the same time and said if we were not successful, we would like to be considered for one of the ones that we would pay for ourselves at that time.
Community boards could certainly do that.
Right.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Right, I've got Councillor Mark Dean, followed by Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour. Welcome, Mark.
I'm just trying to unmute. Thank you, Chairman. Two things. One, I support your list. I especially support Margaret because it's been a subject dear to her heart, and I think she'll be worthwhile on that committee. But I ask a question. Is there a way that we can coordinate with the with groups who do their own CCTV? Why I'm asking that is Oropi School has set up an extensive CCTV system in conjunction with Oropi Hall, and Oropi Hall has raised the funds, and the two systems are linked, but they will provide security for the whole of the Oropi village. Now that's sort of like they've done it independently, and hopefully we can have that linked into our council system if that's possible.
I'm sure the answer is anything's possible once we get this group formed up, and maybe we can go into a bit more detail then. But yep, noted that you're concerned. I don't know if you need anything further to that. Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour.
Yeah, thanks, Don. Yeah, I thought your recommendations were very good. When I first read the agenda and saw the suggested makeup of the group, while I thought it made a lot of sense, I thought we could spend quite a bit of time debating who those members were. So I'm glad to see you've put a bit of thought into it and come up with 3 candidates who've all had a keen interest in this issue and talked about it at length in the past. And so I think it's an excellent suggestion, and I'm happy to second your motion if you were moving those names.
Thank you. Yes, I will do that. Right, I've got Councillor Marsh, followed by Mayor Webber. Kevin Marsh, do you want to unmute? Is that Kevin? No.
So this committee will be
well, is everyone do you have problems with your connection down there, Kevin?
Well, I'm off mute, so I don't know. Is it coming now?
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
This committee, they're dealing with not only community boards, they're dealing with a lot, aren't they? Like Pukaina and that have got their own setup now, and they fund it. So I hope that is part of what this committee does.
Yeah, I hope with staff they gather the whole information on the whole network and the whole picture and bring it back to council, and we can discuss it there. Thanks,
Okay,
Kevin.
thank you.
Mayor Webber.
Yeah, thanks, Don. I support this because it's a recommendatory committee that brings a recommendation up to council. Hopefully when it gets to council, we don't relitigate the whole thing and just accept it and move on. That's enough for me, thanks.
Right. Oh, we've got some further speakers. We'll take Councillor Murray Benge first and then followed by Gary Ellis. Welcome, Margaret.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate that vote. And because one of the things I think that will be quite important is the capacity to work with the other councils as well. And I know Tauranga City is happy to look at McLaren Falls, for example, Gary, and I think it's really helpful. So thank you.
Right. Gary Ellis.
Probably, Mr. Chair, just a comment is that this is looking at the additional cameras. So adding existing community-owned networks into our system is not something that was originally considered. So, for example, Mark's question about adding in the RP school and hall, there'd be quite a few protocols around that, and I'm not sure we or our providers would necessarily want to have all the school system built into it. So there's some issues around that. And then if, for example, we took the Pukahina one and said that has the wider benefit that would have met this policy, as a council, you would have to make a separate decision to agree to add that to the network because of the ongoing costs that go with that. So that's just some of the considerations to take into account when looking at those community networks. And again, this committee has the delegation to approve the budget spend. If a community board wants to add some cameras, that's a council decision to agree to that. If it's going, council's going to pick up the costs. So that's probably one thing we didn't think about in setting up this delegation. So the question is whether you'd want to add to this committee the ability to approve or not approve the community board cameras. But because of the broader funding aspects, that's why it was originally going back to council.
Thank you. James Denyer, Councillor Denyer.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up what the Mayor said and actually what Gary Ellis has just commented on. The proposal, as I see it, is the Working Party has delegated authority and it wouldn't actually come up to council. And so I just want to be clear about is the Working Party going to be the decision makers or is it going to be a recommendatory process?
The intention was it would set up as the decision makers, just like the community matching fund, exactly the same process. They're decision makers. The one decision, as I said, that's not there is the community board funded, fully funded cameras.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Do we need to resolve that today, or do we have sufficient if we move 1, 2, and 3 with the establishment of that group to sort out the detail?
I think this is fine to move this today, Mr. Chair. We can sort out that detail and maybe just see how it goes. At this stage, I'd probably recommend that the community board decision making, even though they'll be applying through this group, if they're not successful and want to fund them themselves, still comes back to the full council because of those ongoing budget implications.
Right. Okay, councillors, recommendations 1, 2, and 3 with the names inserted: Councillor Sol, Councillor Murray Benge, Councillor Gray. Appear to have a number of speakers for it. Mark, are you voting for it, or do you wish to have one last word? Mark,
I'm voting for it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take that. Okay, I'll put that, and all the hands go up. Thank you very much. I declare that carried. Well done, team. Right. Very timely report. Civil Defence Emergency Management Update. Is Kerry with us today? Welcome, Kerry, if you are.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Councillor Thwaites. Yeah, you're right. Very timely report from Emergency Management. So I won't go through the whole thing, but just point out under the headings that we've got there. So these headings are the things that we report up to group on for their planning and for their reports. So community empowerment. So it was very timely for Ben Wilson to come on board in the months before we've plunged back into COVID, and that he had established really strong relationships with our community response teams. So through this COVID resurgence, he's been able to just support and monitor how they're going daily. We've seen some really strong work being done in the community by the community response teams, but also by the different iwi groups, and in particular the Makatuha order. So they've been monitoring out to all their whānau and sending questionnaires right through from Papamoa right through to Waitangi, just checking that everyone's okay, what they need, and any requirements they have. Moving on to the operational excellence side of things, recently, as it says there, Scott Parker and Ben went down to Westport to support the Buller flood operation. It was a really well-run operation and invaluable experience for them, as well as them being able to provide great support on the ground down there. They both spent a week down there at different times along the way. Under the organisational excellence heading, so last meeting we told you that we've split from Tauranga City Council we've split the Western Emergency Operations Centre, and we've both set up our own EOC in case of an emergency. So this is going really well, but it just shows, like in this COVID resurgence, that we still work really closely together, especially in the welfare space and in the communities. So they meet every day amongst all the different welfare teams just to ensure that we're all working on the same page and off supporting the communities as best we can. Any questions?
Yeah, Kerry, I've got one just to start it, right at the end of your report about the release of the flood maps and the coastal erosion maps. Given
Yes.
this has huge implications on people and judging reactions from the past, people never too kindly to get maps, lines put on their properties, planning-wise.
Yes.
What sort of steps are we planning to put in place just to really fully inform the public and give them the opportunity to explore that?
So this is the ongoing work that Tony Clow does, and so
Yeah.
every time a new map comes or new knowledge becomes available to him, he writes out to the community, letting them know the implications of it, which of course causes rumbles for Tony through Philip's team. Yep.
Thank you. Right, I'll take them as they appear on my screen. Councillor Henry, and then Murray Benj. Henry first. Oh, sorry, Henry. Anne, are you there?
Yes, but I should have removed my hand. I don't need to say anything, sorry.
Okay, Councillor Murray Benj.
I'm exactly the same. I can't remove my hand.
Oh, you've got some extra hands.
I've done it. I've done it. I've done
Thank
it.
you. Mayor Webber, you're the last man standing at the moment. Right, you got to unmute.
It's definitely a comment, not a question. I think it's at times like these we really recognise, and Kerry, you and your team, we once again say thanks to stepping in. This is above and beyond. These people have still got their day jobs to do, but when times like this come along, and how we support our people, not even our near neighbours, but down on the west coast, it's a time we say thank you very much and really appreciate your input.
Great, thank you, Mayor Webber.
Councillor Gray, welcome to today's.
More of a comment as well, being a part of our Te Puke community response team. It's been really cool jumping on and seeing all the services coordinating response this time. It's been real fast in getting to those who need it the most, and got the daily kicking into action and doing meals, and the need this time seems to be a lot more focused around the food, so it's been really good to just get on top of it, and we're doing the whole end of this district at the moment, so that's really cool. I just want to say yay to have been on board, because just such an asset to the team. And previously, I mean, we've worked with Ben before becoming an elected member, and he just really is an awesome person anyway. So it's great to have him taking the lead on that too. Thank you.
Yep. So Ben's on the call here somewhere too, but just that was a big learning out of last time, that everything took so long to get the help where it was needed. And so credit to the people in the powers that be, that MSD's been empowered to provide the money to allow people to do the job that they need to do, which is really important.
Thanks, Kerry. Well, Ben, if you are online, do you want to give us a very brief summary of what you encountered down there? Good morning, Ben, if you are there. Yep, there he is.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, councillors and everyone online this morning. Yes, Councillor Gray is indeed correct in terms of, and thank you for those kind words, Councillor. It's food. It's food. The provision of and the delivery of is a current priority at the moment. And as Councillor Gray has indicated, some communities are doing remarkably well. Our communities are resilient and strong, and certainly down in the eastern end of the district, that's been demonstrated by the collaborative efforts of the community service providers down there. But indeed, that's occurring right across our district as well too. So this time around, I'm not saying that we're in great shape, but our communities are doing a lot better with good planning, good collaboration, and with a clear view of how they want to come out of this resurgence a lot stronger and still prepared for whatever might come next.
Thanks, Ben. Oh, Councillor Grant Daly, welcome to the meeting. Grant.
Yeah, kia ora, everyone. Look, just while everyone's here and well, after this update especially, at our Te Puke community response meetings, the question has come forward from Ngā Kākano and Potiri Trust about the possibility of opening up some showers for the kiwi fruit workers and the homeless people in Te Puke. And we did ask the question through that group, and the answer was that that wasn't a consideration at the moment. But we do know that Centennial Park toilets do have a shower block attached to them, and the answer we got was that they're only used for events. But is there any reason why we can't open that particular toilet block up and use those showers in this case, in this situation? I mean, I know we have to wait until level 2 if that is going to be the case, but I suppose maybe things come back a bit more normal at that point. But if I can get an answer to that.
Kerry, are you best to answer that? These level 4 protocols?
Yeah, so because we're not activated as an EOC, we don't have money, and I'm not saying that that's not a reason why we wouldn't do it, but our power's a whole lot less. So homelessness and kiwi fruit workers. So are the kiwi fruit workers freedom camping, or are they living in cars? Or
yeah, they were mainly about the people basically camping in the Commerce Lane car park in Te Puke, over the road from where their headquarters is.
Yes, so I'm not sure that we would open the toilets or the showers for that situation. So Ministry of Social Development should be dealing with any homelessness issues, and so those people could actually be put into accommodation from the homeless point of view. I guess it's an operational matter if council chooses to open the showers, but I'm not sure that it's once we do it now, we'd have to do it going forward.
Peter, was that a timely cough from you?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just further to what Kerry is saying, one of the things we need to be mindful of is that when you open up a facility like that, it's designed for communal showering for a sports field, or for a sports club, and having just general public mix and mingle and the social issues about that of kids and adults and that type of thing in that situation. needs to be taken in consideration as well. So would expose council, will expose everyone to a lot of risk there, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right, I've got Councillor Sol, Alan.
Right. Yeah, look, I'm much the same coming in this. The reactions, etc., have been really good from the system as it's operating now. What maybe its experience of all the other events, but it seems to have been so much better, information coming through, flowing better. We just seem to have I think, even prepared better to preempt if need be. And it's showing up. Ben's been brilliant. Thanks, Ben. Got to endorse what you've said before. And other than that, Sir, yeah, food has been the biggest issue, I think, around in a lot of places. We don't seem to have quite the problem as much here yet, but, you know, time will create more issues and so on. So other than that, I would like to, I'm quite happy when need be to move receiving the report. Thanks.
Thanks, Alan. Margaret, you're the last hand standing.
I'm happy to second that report, but once again, I'd like to commend Ben. I thought when I read the report, that's typical Ben Wilson. There he is, hitting the ground running. And Ben, I'd love to ask you, with your experience in Westport, how easy was it to involve central government to be part of the team as well when they were in Westport, were in serious trouble at Bulla?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's a good question. Central government was involved early, and by and large kicked off the coordination of that, the response for that event. From my perspective, it looked like it was a pretty well-oiled machine, and that a lot of preparation, a lot of thought, and a lot of expertise was called on for that flood from around the nation. Of course, you know, our organisation stepped up as well too. So from a nationally coordinated perspective, I think it worked really well. Cheers.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you, Kerry. Thanks, Peter, for your input and all your teams. I have a mover and Sol, seconder and Murray Bench. I'll put that. If we see some blue hands briefly, yep, looks like this. Thank you very much. I declare that carried. Thank you, team. Right, we move now to page 63. Gary Ellis, this could be a record performance and monitoring meeting.
Yes, it could be, Mr. Chair.
Timeline.
So in terms of the report, and I'll share screen for the presentation. In terms of the report, probably the only one I particularly want to comment on in this part is the Waka Kotahi funding. So that decision will be coming, the board's making the decisions today, and it'll be coming out next week. So we'll know next week what the level of funding from Waka Kotahi is for the next 3-year program. At this stage, we've had obviously that I guess early advice on the operations and maintenance, but at this stage we've no real indication on the low cost, low risk capital works, and if it's a wait and see. We're hopeful that the government may put in some extra money into the kitty for that. So, Carolyn, I think I was going to be sharing the screen for this, or were you for the presentation?
That was with you,
Okay.
Gary.
So what I'll do, Mr. Chair, is I'll just have, hang on, the share screen, haven't I?
Margaret, I see you've got a question there, but I'll let Gary run through the first lot and then I can bring in any questions from councillors. We'll let him get a first 2 or 3 screens up at least anyway.
So, Callum, are you online in terms of being able to talk to operator Tauranga Cycle Trail?
Yes, I am, Gary.
Okay.
So In terms of Burrell Road, I've split it into three phases. The first phase is between the stream and at number 114 and the intersection with Trehome Lane. That work is actually underway at the moment, or was underway when we went into lockdown to remove and replace the existing path with a new 2.5 metre path. So once we come back out of lockdown, it should take perhaps another 2 weeks to complete that work, and that section will be complete. The second phase is the section which is shown in yellow on the plan. That has been surveyed, and we will carry out design to work out a way to widen the existing path without having a negative impact on the drainage there. So that to upgrade that path would probably require improvements to the drainage as well. The third phase of the path is the blue section on the plan. That is actually in rail corridor. We have applied for a license to occupy the rail corridor between Trehome Lane and Paparoa Road. We submitted that license to occupy application about 3 months ago. We haven't heard anything back from KiwiRail, so we have to chase KiwiRail and try and get approval for that. The remaining section between Paparoa Road and Tupuna Road would be completed at the same time as we undertook path construction on the rail corridor between Paparoa and Trehome.
Thanks, Callum.
Gary,
can we just give we'll give Margaret an opportunity to raise her points, maybe on those first 2 points you've spoken to. Margaret.
Thanks, Don. Just wondered if there's any central coordinated lobbying going on from local government about the government's cutting back on their funding for us, because I'm quite sure we're not the only ones who have been downgraded like this. So that's the first question. And my second one is to Callum. Delighted that he was prepared to meet with local people for the likes of Neville Bidwar and the Growers Direct. They would be happy to actually just hear from staff as to what we're actually doing. So that will continue, Callum, and I'll be in touch with you as soon as we can have an on-the-ground meeting. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions on that, let's go to the next section. Again, Callum.
Well, Mayor Webber's just put his hand up if he wants to jump in now before we zoom through the rest of the district.
Yeah, it's really an answer to Margaret's question. Yes, you may rest assured central government and many councils have been lobbying to make sure that central government are aware of the lack of underfunding. But we just need to recognise you've got 30 years of catch up, but it's not going to happen in the first year or two.
Thanks, Gary. Right, I'm going to push mute button myself now and listen to Gary run through the rest of his report, and then we'll take any questions at the end. Gary Ellis, over to you.
Okay, thanks. So Callum, Te Puke Te Makitu.
Yeah, so the Te Puke Te Makitu cycle trail, we've undertaken 2 activities to date. Consultation with Tangata Whenua, which has been primarily Ngāti Tuhiki and Ngāti Moko. That consultation is almost over, and we believe that we have identified a route and an option which may be acceptable to both hapus. I don't really want to preempt what that may be at the moment, because we still have another hui to attend with Ngāti Moko, but in the next, provided we get out of lockdown soon, then maybe in the next month we should have a preferred route that we can identify in our business case and get our business case submitted to Waka Kotahi for funding. So that plan there just shows the number of options that were discussed with primarily Ngāti Moko. So there's the rail corridor option, which is identified in red. There was an alternative option put forward by Ngāti Moko, which was to construct a path across Verco land The Vercos are unsurprisingly not supportive of that plan, so that will not be going ahead. There was also another option there which is not shown to use the existing highway corridor. That is not supported by Ngāti Moko either. So it's likely that it will be the rail corridor, but we do have to conclude our consultation with Ngāti Moko. So you know, that's not guaranteed at this stage.
Thanks. Do you want to take questions on that, Don?
Yep. Okay. If there is any questions, Grant, there you go. I thought he'd be up for that project he's been involved with. Grant.
Yeah, just quickly, preparation of the single stage business case is continuing. Is that you're pretty much stalled until the route is defined? Is that right, or is there still work going on with that?
The single stage business case won't take long to finish once we've concluded consultation. It's not far away from being finished.
Okay, and well, since we were asked the question, are you still progressing the number 1 road cycleway business case concurrently? Where's that up to?
We are treating that as a separate project at the moment. I understand that the business case is underway for that as well. I should probably add, the discussions we've had with Ngāti Tuhiki have identified the need for a path between number 1 roads and the former state highway paper road that goes up to the marae, just off to Matai Road. So that it could be that there's 2 paths, that there's a need for 2 paths, one serving Ngāti Tuhiki, and then another path which is the main path that would go from Tupuki to Makatu.
Is that pretty much approved by Ngāti Tuhiki and the other hapu?
Ngāti Tuhiki are supportive of a path on Tupuki Highway corridor going from where the marae is located back into Tupuki.
Thank you.
Right, Gary, back to you.
Okay, Scott, are you online?
How'd they get that container under the bridge right there?
Yeah, so this is the progress update in terms of the Amakara to Papoya cycle trail. So it's happening, and the image on the left is what's getting built. That's the concept of what's getting built to cross the Waipapa stream. Again, the other side of the bridge, so the work that's been done, and that container, it's a 4 protection structure, is instead of those shelters that were built on the other 2 bridges, 3 bridges on the cycle trail. So that's a more economical way of providing that safe passage underneath the rail bridge. And again, that's just leading back down to Pahoia Road. So that's where we're up to with that.
Just got Mayor Webber's got a point on. Gary.
Yeah, thank you. Your use of the word more economical to use a suspension bridge, it's good we've learnt that lesson. I assume we're going to use that for most other creek and stream and difficult water crossings going forward, and forget the expensive option.
It's where there's sufficient space to actually put the backstays, as they are more economical in terms of construction. The one thing with them is they wouldn't have worked, for example, for the rail bridges on Amakara Road, because they couldn't carry the loading when we wanted to put the ability to put vehicles over them. So these work really well when you're probably 1.5 to 1.8 metres wide. If you wanted to go a lot wider, then sometimes it's worth looking at different methods.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the Jess Road to Te Puna options, but that's built, so we'll get over it.
Yeah. Right, ethnic crossing. So, Peter, do you want to talk about this, where it's up to? No, if not, I can. So in terms of the ethnic crossing, so this is the report went through the Waihi Beach Community Board, which signed off the half the funding out of the community road and account, with the balances coming out of the normal annual walking and cycling budget. And there's a process in place to go through the community consultation and the I guess the dissenting process for that. Amokro Domain Playground, again, that's been delayed by COVID, but it's ready to, contract's been awarded, ready to be constructed. Te Puke Stormwater, Coralie.
After Coralie, we'll let Grant and Murray Granger ask the questions. So Coralie, you go first, and then we'll come back to Grant and Murray.
Okay, so this just a couple of updates and a couple of capital works projects we've got on at the go at the moment. So this is our Te Puke Stormwater Pond. This is a new pond we're building up Dunlop Road. This is to enable all the development that happens up there. So it's primarily a treatment pond. So the different sections provide different levels of treatment. It's more of a sort of a wetland with planting. The construction for it's out to tender at the moment, but we're going to have to extend tender closing dates for because of COVID. The biggest thing here is that it's quite time critical because the developers are relying on this pond to be built to be able to do their development. So we're sort of looking to try get it done by the end of the year, but of course it would be dependent on when we can get our contractors out there again.
Do you want to take those questions now?
Yeah, Councillor Daly first, and then Granger. Grant.
Well, yes, so just a couple of questions. The container under the bridge. I was just wondering, Kiwi Rail built a new bridge over the Lawrence Oliver Park, and they said that they didn't need to put the protective screening in place because of the design of the bridge. It had sort of raised concrete sidings, but to me, doesn't make sense because bits of wood could still fly off logging trains, sort of thing. And I was just wondering why they consider that is safe when you need sort of these pretty extreme measures elsewhere. My second question is the stormwater pond. I know that I think that's in this current council stormwater reserve, which doesn't go all the way to the stream. So I guess you've got to get a bit of an easement to get complete the link to the stream on some private property. And our local walking and cycling group has identified this as a crucial link to this new residential development. And are you planning to allow a cycling connection across that last little bit down by the stream as part of this design process?
Gary, do you want to do that, or Coralie, or Gary Ellis?
So I would have thought we're practical. We'll have walking and cycling connections through stormwater ponds or stormwater areas. So as a matter of course, we see how that can be built into it. And an example is what we're planning. The Omokara plans includes walking and cycling as part of that. The only areas that you wouldn't is if there was considered to be a hazard there that you couldn't mitigate with protection features. So in this case, we can probably go, we're looking at the walking and cycling connection through there, Councillor Dowling.
Okay, yeah, because that is there's all these 1,000 new homes going in over that side of the stream, and the high school's just on the other side of the stream, so it makes a lot of sense to connect them in that manner.
Yeah.
Murray.
Thanks. Just the question back on the Amakara playground. Can projects like that continue under level 3 because people are spaced out, or what's the deal?
So we're working on the basis that where practical, those projects will continue. So contractors can work, but they have to have those safety protocols in place. And so Peter has been in communication with Downer as of this morning about restarting for example, the mowing on the reserves and ensuring that the Downer protocols that their operators work in their own workplace bubbles. And there'll be the similar conversations happening for things like the Omokra playground and a number of the other projects that are we're ready to go before lockdown.
Thank you.
Gary Webber, Mayor Webber, might will get your one done too now.
Well, I was just happy to move receipt when it gets to the end.
That's a hint we got to keep rolling in. Okay, no more questions. Then till the end.
I got the hint. Okay, Coralie.
Yep. So State Highway 2 water main, the water main that goes through the golf course there, quite a critical one, causing lots of problems. Nearly finished for renewal, so 80% done. Obviously work's on hold, but we're aiming to get it done by the end of September. And then we've drilled 2 of our 3 rapid boreholes up in the Eastern Supply Zone. One of them was quite successful, so that's very positive. The second one we drilled was not so successful. It was in a slightly different location, so we're going to go back to where the first one is and just validate that. And if the third one shows to be successful, we'll go through and start to establish a bore there at the site, so that's positive. And then just a quick update on our SIP project works. So we've started discussions with Otawhiti Marae around connecting that marae to reticulation. So conversations there are starting to be quite positive, which is good. We're underway, we were meant to be underway now with the pipeline for the Tapuna village. So that will start again under level 3 conditions. We're just working through health and safety plans with our contractors. And we're also all ready to roll with the Te Rere Atu Kahia wastewater connection. So we've got all our consents and approvals in place. We've had really good buy-in from the community there with, there's about 30 properties we're trying to connect and only 3 have declined to connect. All the rest of the landowners have actually signed all their agreement forms. So that's really good. And we're also having a look at what sort of water supply improvements we can do. And with the OSET upgrades, we're looking at doing a few more upgrades at different sites around the district, with Tuapiro likely to be the next one there. And as well as we're just working with connecting to Tarangi Marae out into Puna up to our Omokoro transfer pipeline. At this stage, Potu Tarangi have opted not to connect to wastewater reticulation. And we've also, through the SIP funding, now connected Whakawe Marae to wastewater, which has been a long-standing issue. The big sort of caveat was the review and the pay and charge policy, so it's been really positive for Marae.
I'll just get Coralie to finish the CIP and then we'll go to those questions.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, so this is an extract out of the DIA's quarterly. We do reporting quarterly to them. This is our Q3 reporting. So it showed at the time, the top of the graph, the dotted line along the top is what we had originally forecasted at the start of the program to spend, and the dark line is what we've actually forecasted to spend. So we're running slightly behind schedule in terms of expenditure, but this was mainly because we weren't prepared for how long obtaining archaeological authorities would be, and the lack of archaeologists we have in our region to be able to prepare all the applications we had to do with all the work that was going on. But overall, our reporting, they'd run like a green, amber, red type scenario. So our overall, even though we're sort of running behind schedule, they're comfortable. We've got all the right risk management procedures in place to manage them. So we're actually tracking really well. The amber relates to the LTP. So we also have to report on where our expenditure is in relation to the LTP. So we were slightly behind at the end of the last quarter, which was end of June. But we've picked up quite a bit on that over the last sort of couple of months as well. That's the end of the CIP stuff.
Right, Gary, what's left? You got a couple of screens.
Do you want to take the questions on that section first before we go to curbside?
Yeah, okay, we can tidy it off. I just want to make one comment, and that's a bouquet to hand out, and that is to the central government on some of this CIP funding for water and wastewater. Some of those projects just were in a very hard basket, not too hard basket, very hard basket. And it just shows what a little bit of funding has just been enabled to add to our resources and get those projects over the line. So we normally send brickbats down to Wellington, but I have to send a bouquet on that one. But anyway, with that in mind, I'll go to Margaret. Margaret, Kevin and Grant. Margaret, you're up.
Thanks, Don. Could I just ask how the bore success is going at Whakamarama?
It's not been going very well. We've been unsuccessful in all the test bores that we had, and we ended up putting that on hold because the water supply in the eastern supply zone was becoming a little bit more critical, and we only have one contractor. So we've shifted him across over to the eastern supply zone to drill the bores there. Once that's finished, we'll go back to the central supply zone. There's a little bit, we do have a bit of buffer in our supply there, so we're comfortable, we can still deliver. But we'll go back once we finish off the bore over in the eastern area.
Thanks very much.
Kevin Marsh.
Yeah, Coralie, whereabouts are those bores being drilled?
Up Bayliss Road.
What depth are those bores? What depth do you have to go for that water? 300?
I honestly, I don't know. It does go down into the deep aquifer. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
We can get that
I can
deep
find out and send it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Daly, Grant.
Yeah, Coralie, just a quick question about the drinking water at Makatu, just after seeing the bit about Whakaui Marae there. But we did some long-term plan pre-engagement with them a little while ago, and they raised the issue about their drinking water. And are you aware of any concerns with the reticulation pipes into Makatu?
No, I'm not aware of any issues. We have had a history of a while ago black spots in the water, and we had to put a bunch of filters. It was an understanding this was coming from old pipes, so we've been doing some investigation on the location of that pipe, and we have a project this year to replace it, but that's been managed at the moment through filters on people's boundaries. In terms of the general water quality, I'm not aware of any actual water quality issues.
No, that is the exact issue that was raised.
There's that one. Yeah.
Black deposits in the water, yeah. So is that something that could be funded by CIP, or is that just regular stuff?
Council already has funding in the plan to address that.
Okay, thank you.
Right, Gary, you want to work through that waste? Oh.
Yep. So it's one of our trucks. So I'll get to Kerry to take us through this presentation.
Hi, thank you, Gary. So just running through just a few figures. So in a good way, calls to our call centre are definitely trending down for curbside. Of course, when we went back into lockdown, these went up slightly as people were asking about their collection services where they hadn't tapped into our media releases about what was happening. So good trend to see calls trending down, and likewise service requests coming into our call centre are also trending down. That's another good thing to see. So we've been able to get some information from EnviroWaste about tonnage through for the first 4 weeks. The first 4 weeks because this report was written a little while ago, but you can see that tonnage is going up, so that's really good. Just in a couple of slides time, you'll see that for the 3-month period prior to curbside collections commencing, there was an average of 72.57 tonnes of glass and recycling going through, being recycled. So from in July, when we started our curbside, we had 47.71 tonnes of glass going through the recycling centres, but 77 going being picked up through curbside. So we had an extra 53 tonne of glass being recycled in our first month in curbside. So I'm sure you'll agree that that's a really good outcome. So as at the 17th of August, we had 17,782 connections. Sorry, Gary, I'm jumping all around the place here. Connections, that's at 17,800 now as we're bringing more people on board. We're nearly at what we anticipated at year 10 of our contract. So we're doing some work with EnviroWaste to extend that out. Current issues and responses that we're working with. Miscollection has been, or was, our highest CCR category. Now that we've got our whole fleet on board and they've all got, they're all fitted with E-Road and Fleet Mind technology, that should keep reducing these further because they can electronically see the route, and we can see before they leave an area, they'll call back in or they'll check their actual route to make sure that they've picked up all the roads they should have in their area. PAYT tags, so they were proving to be a little bit of an issue, but we haven't had much on this at all lately. So while they're looking at making some tweaks when they get new tags, well, when we restock them, this doesn't seem to be such an issue. There was an issue around bin shortages, but this is all sorted now. We have plenty supply of bins now. We got a whole new lot on the 12th of August. And a summer collection, that extra collection that we talked about at Waihi Beach has been confirmed for the period 17th of December to the 29th of Jan. So so they'll have an extra collection on a Friday at Waihi Beach during that period. Waihi Beach, Bowen Town, Athenry. And then I've spoken about the increase in glass recycling. I'm happy to take any questions. Ken's also on board now if there's anything he'd like to add to that. No, happy to take questions.
Right, we've got Murray, James, Grant. Go, Murray.
Thank you. Our stated intent when we went into this was to reduce divert stuff from landfill, 80% from landfill, but we appear to have doubled our stuff to landfill. What's with that? Gone from 34 tonnes to 69 tonnes.
4 tonnes.
That bottom line.
Oh, yep.
Probably if I can answer that.
Yep, sorry, I'm just looking. Yep.
Yep. So that's the amount that we've collected through our the curbside collection, Murray. It's not necessarily an increase in rubbish that's going to landfill.
Oh, yeah.
Remembering this is what was going through the private contractors before.
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right here.
And we didn't have those figures, so we couldn't compare what was previously going to landfill with this.
Yeah, so glass is the only thing that we can actually measure at this stage. That's why we can't compare that against what was being picked up before.
Thank you.
Right, James.
Yeah, thank you. Just an observation really, or a suggestion. The lockdown has caused considerable confusion and some mixed messages to the community around what is able to be picked up in curbside collections and the diversion of recyclable materials into landfill. Can I urge that clearer messaging and explanations be made in any future such situations? Because I think what happened was that the recycling got collected, but then it was diverted to landfill, and that sort of wasn't made clear, and there was a bit of concern around that. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Grant.
Kiri, just Pukahina in the past has also requested additional collections, and the fact that their collection is on a Monday, and it would just seem to make sense to add some additional collection days for them as well, because they do generate a lot of extra bottles, especially in that holiday period as well.
Okay, yeah, we'll take that under advisement.
Yeah, I
Margaret?
think the comment is that we were able to do Waihi Beach because traditionally, or for a while, it had an extra collection. Pukahina being the collection on a Monday, it does help get the weekend increase in glass.
And I think, Don, I've just had an email come through to me about we need some advertising or a campaign. Talk to Christo from Westlink, who will clear. They've had a whole lot of rubbish bags dumped along State Highway 2, large black bags of rubbish, especially closer to Loop Road. The whole road reserve is rubbish. And he's suggesting that we need a campaign targeting horticultural industry along my area, lots of energy drinks, cans, bottles, coffee cups. And so it's, and I'm getting a number of complaints about the people who drop stuff along our roads. And it's part of, now that we're taking a greater role in collecting of rubbish, that the education, I think, is something we need to continue to encourage. Not the type that's put on for the three waters by government at the moment. I don't suggest that, but I think we could do better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you on board. Alan, you've got an issue, a point for Waihi Beach.
Yeah, no, actually, thank you very much, first of all, for beating the gun on that about the extra collections of Waihi Beach, Athenry and Bowentown, or the greater Waihi Beach area. I just want to query, because it was collections, which is between the 17th of December, 29th Jan. Is this red bin only, or is it going to be glass, or all the bins as such going to be somehow fitted into this extra collection?
It'll be an extra service, so one each week. So on their recycling, I'm pretty sure on that. Is that correct, Ken?
So it's for everything other than food scraps. Food scraps
Yes.
collected weekly, and every other collection service will have an extra collection of Friday.
Sorry, I found that a little difficult to hear. So you're saying everything will have extra collection except for food scraps?
That's
yes,
correct.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Right, Gary, much left? Yep.
Gary.
Right, so me again. Following on from CCTV cameras, so Gary introduced me to Wayne Lowry in the council chambers a little while ago, and he's talked about cameras and lights at McLaren's Falls Road. So the LTP 2021 to 2031 included a wellbeing plan to help promote the economic, social and cultural environmental wellbeing of the communities. Kaimai community had 3 actions, one of them being community safety planning. So we've been able to tap into that, and we have come up with a plan for lights and security cameras at McLaren's Falls Bridge. So these will be paid for jointly between Western Bay's Wellbeing Fund, TCC, and inputs from Trustpower. And they'll be operated and monitored and maintained by Tauranga City Council through their TTOC monitoring, and police will have access to the camera information as well as TTOC and us if required. So I'm not sure if you can see at the bottom of this picture, there's a, an asterisk and TCC. So that's the gate into McLaren's Falls Park, and TCC are putting in a new gate there. And so we'll be able to tap into their power supply. That black line is where the power supply will go along, and then there's a concrete pad where the black line finishes, and that's where a pipe starts that's owned by Trustpower, and it goes, it's a big thick pipe that goes underground there down to the power station. So so it goes to that asterisk down by the water, and then we'll put a power supply to where that first asterisk is, and then it'll run through a conduit of the power supply to the other side, and each of those asterisks will have a this is what we're proposing, we'll have a pole with a light and a camera on it that's monitored by TTOC. Right back at the McLaren's Falls Park gate where that asterisk is, that's another security camera that points over to that car park on the other side of the water. And we're also investigating an option of right on the hairpin bend, bringing a power supply. There's a driveway down there that goes to a pump shed that opens the flow gate, so we could get power from there. So we're also investigating the option of a pole with a light on that hairpin bend as well. Any questions?
Thanks, Kerry. That's a great outcome for that community. They've campaigned and been very passionate on that, so that's a great outcome. I'm sure Margaret and Mark wish to also comment on it now. Margaret, you first.
Could you hear me then?
Yeah, no, go.
Oh, sorry. I just think it's brilliant. Thank you so much. But tell me, what's the timeline?
So I'm just waiting to get final costings back from George Armitage. Now, lockdown sort of hindered it a little bit, but it's not a long timeline.
Thank you.
Mark.
Have you investigated solar power on these poles instead of the expense of putting the cables in the ground?
Sorry. Yes, we did investigate solar power. I took advice from the connectivity experts. So, and also all of this was in conjunction with the park ranger from McLaren's Falls as well, with experience that he's had in that area. So we've been working with a guy, George Armitage from Connect It, who has lots of experience in that area and in both lighting and CCTV cameras.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Gary, for that comprehensive report. Looks like we've done it. We had a mover a fair while back in Mayor Webber, and seconded from Councillor Henry to receive the report. I'll put that. I assume all the hands are going up. Thank you very much. I declare that carried. Right now, thanks, team. I'll declare now a 3 or 4 minute timeout. You can go and stretch your legs, get a cup of coffee. We just have a couple of contracts to receive in confidential, so we've got to give Horowai a chance to just tidy up the feed, and we'll come back. So what's the time now?
It's me, Don. We just need a mover and a seconder to go into confidential.
Oh, okay, as well. Sorry, we do too. So first two hands, we've got Webber again and Henry again. Well done. Those same two again, Webber and Henry. Thank you, Tim. So we're now into confidential. So you've got 3 minutes to go and have a stretch, and we'll tidy up the feed and see everyone who needs to be on it is on it.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the other submitters and presenters today. If you're leaving us now, thank you very much.